Gents, and this is for gents only, and it's not because I'm being sexist, it's because we're the dumb pricks that this pertains to. You know that time when everything is really, really shit? We all have it, right? Everything's going tits up. You get down, you get depressed, maybe worse. And then another guy says, hey, you okay, mate? Because we're guys, that's all we say. We don't say, hey, are you okay, mate? Because I noticed you're looking a bit down. And, well, you know what I mean. All the fucking things we don't say because we're big, strong men. Well, we aren't going to change because we're stubborn pricks, but for the times when we do need help, let's have a code word. For instance, if another dude says to you, are you okay, mate, at a time when you're not okay, that's a new code for, hey, are you okay, mate, because I noticed you're looking a bit down and you know we're all here to help you, right? And when you say in return, nah, I'm okay, every guy needs to take this as, nah, things are looking shit right now, I could use some help. Now, I'm not taking votes or opinions on this. This is now in the bro code and it can't be edited. It will be referred to as the Stop Pretending You're a Hard Cunt Amendment. We need to look out for each other. I just lost a mate that perhaps a few words like this could have saved. He took his own life on Monday, and on reflection, all of us that knew him saw that he wasn't his own self. And when he said he was fine, we just left it at that. Let's keep an eye out for each other. Episode 31.5, part 2 of part 1, that we may as well just call episode 32 of Skeptic Smash Talk. I'm your host, Jason Jones. Okay, so this is part 2 of the episode from last week where Andy, Brenno and I recorded some bits and pieces. So if you haven't heard all of episode 31, you may want to just go back and listen just for context. But before we go on, as a reminder, you can listen directly from the show website, and that's at skepticsmashtalk.com, or subscribe directly from your favourite podcast app. On the website, if you hit the blog link up in the top left-hand corner, you can find all the show notes, etc. And as always, if you want to keep in touch, you can follow and like the show on Facebook and Twitter, and you can get all that contact information and the email address actually at skepticsmashtalk.com. Please do keep up with the feedback. It does make a difference. And thanks to Tom from the Skeptic Canary podcast and blog for his feedback this week and encouragement. Also, with regards to emails, I've got a question from a listener that asked not to be named about donations. And I'll talk about that in the closing parts of the show this week, so as to not break from the continuity from last week. But thanks for getting in touch. So with that in mind, here's the rest of the show as we recorded last week. Andrea.
Yes.
Have you ever wanted just to run away and completely isolate yourself from humans?
A cave dweller. I want to be a cave dweller. Yeah. I've done that. I came off Facebook.
Yeah, well, that's a big move. It's very hard not to be on Facebook at the moment.
It is, yeah, but that's my step towards disappearing off the planet.
Well, save a thought for 3 Amazonian tribes people. So in December 2014, 3 non-contacted Amazon tribes people, a young man, his mother, and an elder female relative were led out of the forest that they had lived in their whole lives and taken to a village.
Who were they led by?
Other people.
When you say, what, with their own tribe, or did outsiders come in and lead them out of their forest?
I could finish the story.
All right, sorry,
okay.
Go on.
A year and a half later, in an extraordinary twist, two women, have escaped back to the forest, taking just an axe, a machete, and their pet birds. They left clothes they had been wearing strewn on the path to leave, obviously, a very clear message.
That's saying you can take your civilization and you can shove it right up your, isn't it?
Yep, exactly. Now, the young lad, well, the 20-year-old, he stayed, and it looks like he may have shacked up with
The thing is, he's at an age where you start actually soaking up and taking on board and losing part of yourself. Whereas these other ladies are probably maturer. They like who they are. This is what I'm about. I can't be bothered with this.
Exactly. So what had happened? So they're part of the Awe tribe or Awe tribes people And there's about 450 in this tribe. And at some stage, they just disappeared and they set up their own little dwellings and whatever. And there was a hunting party. So a hunting party had come past and actually seen them. And one of the women, actually both of the women, I think, were suffering from pneumonia, a la Hillary Clinton. So they've taken them back. It's not funny. She was not well. Anyway, they've taken them back to the village and given them some medical help and stuff like that. But the two women, and one, so the mother of the boy, they're saying she was in her 50s or 60s, and the other lady, and they're saying she was related, but nobody knows how, was about 60 years old.
God, they must. Do you know what? Simple life.
Yeah. Well, they don't know any different. And
you can imagine, right? For 60 years of their life, they've had a very simple, basic way of living it day in day out, and all of a sudden they're thrown into this lifestyle of constant busyness and need and want and greed and whatever.
One of the women's complaints. So they had been interviewed by the media in 2015, and one of their complaints was that there was too much attention by non-tribes people on them and a lot of non-tribes people.
Because people don't just see a human being, they see something different.
Exactly. And there's two parts to it. So there was a bit of a freak show type thing.
Right,
so people, there was good as well. So you had the social services in the area trying to look after them. But these ladies just, I think it's a bit of racism actually. They didn't want any of the white people in giving them a hard time. They just wanted to do what they wanted.
God, you know what? I mean, good on them. I mean, they've obviously settled in their ways and enjoy it, don't they?
Yeah.
That's a remarkable story, that.
Yeah, but according to the press anyway, according to the Brazilian government, they've got a registration list of 110 uncontacted groups in the Amazon. Now, obviously, the Amazon's getting destroyed. I mean, we're going to go off. I do tangents a lot, don't I? I'm going to change the name of this show to the Tangent Show. I was
about to say, are we talking like the logistics or what? I actually thought when you said about the Amazon tribe, I was thinking, is that what they call their employees now?
Yeah, well, they'd be more bloody diligent in their work, wouldn't they?
Probably.
Yeah. Anyway, but the Amazon jungle is shrinking, and I mean the Amazon is, again, I'm going back. I've done a lot of environmental type stuff in the last few weeks, but we are in deep shit if we don't sort this out. And this is the Amazon's another example. They call the Amazon the lungs of the planet.
But what's a shame is you've got these very small groups and tribes, when you think about how many people populate the planet, who live in the Amazon, who are living probably a lot more sustainably than we are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's us that are ruining their home.
Exactly.
And it's us that are actually decreasing their ability to remain on this planet. It just goes to show, doesn't it? Yeah. You know?
Well, what we do, and we're talking about the other Amazon now, is we capitalise everything. Everything's about money, and we need to extract. And the reason we're ripping apart the Amazon forest is because we need more trees to make more mulch, to make more paper, to do all that sort of stuff, to farm more corn and all that crap.
Yeah, what we basically need is to need less stuff.
Okay, so this is really the main body of the show for this week, where Brenno and I talk about the pseudoscience of running and sport in general. And we discuss everything from pickle juice for cramps to funny-shaped vibram five-finger shoes. And neither of us managed to get our heads around how someone can make a market and money for barefoot running shoes. Then we discuss how easy it is for anyone living just about anywhere to find somewhere they can get out and run. And we use the example of a local race here. It's a Warrington 40-mile ultra-marathon. Have a listen. Anyway, so let's move on. The big thing in your life, apart from being a hippie vegetarian, is... So you're as I said, you're an athlete. You do some really extraordinary running events. Let's talk about that. Well, where did it start? When did you start as an athlete, or when did you start sort of competitive or running outside of running for a bar?
Well, as a child, I enjoyed running. Just bombing around like most kids did. Back in my day, we had no television. You had to go and run and chase buses.
I need to go off on a very short tangent on that one. Have you ever noticed babies never walk? They run. Once they get up and become bipedal, they never walk. They run up to, I think it's probably until they get to school. When they first start school, as they start doing that slowing down, it's just always they're running. It's fantastic.
I think if you just sort of any day of the week you go past the school and the kids are out playing, they're just bombing around, man. And the joy of movement for its own sake, as opposed to, I must go and do X number of miles to meet a certain target. So that's how I kind of got into running, really. There was a couple of certain points in my life where I missed the movements. I missed kind of just being able to go out and just run. I can't really be any more specific than that. There was a little bit where I thought, oh gosh, a few pounds are creeping up. I'll have to do something about it, but I didn't want to do something where I'd be starving myself or doing an activity which I found tedious, like lifting weights at the gym or just being on a treadmill on top. Just going outside and go for a little bimble. And I'm quite lucky where I live. I can access country parks and farmland. I prefer to run off road. And it's mentally very stimulating, physically really good for you. Keep the old ticker healthy. And
I think that's something extraordinary about this country and being an immigrant in the country. It wasn't something that I'd actually considered. Coming from Australia, we've got more space than anybody knows what to do with. But literally from my front door here, we can walk out and do a 40-mile loop, practically only crossing roads, running through farmers' fields, which there's a right of way to. We're not trespassing, but going through the forestry areas. And we live in between Manchester and Liverpool, two big cities in the northwest. But we've got access to all these trails and tracks and, this massive network. And when I say there's 40 miles, that's the route I know. I'm pretty sure we could go from here, get on the Trans-Pennine Way and go that's a couple of 100 miles, along as well. So, we are very lucky and don't sort of appreciate it as much as we should,
You'd be surprised. I mean, I do like to get about and, keep off road. And the places that I've found just through exploring, it's been wonderful. When I speak to people, I didn't know this was here. It's on the doorstep. I just really don't know. But going back to how I got into it more competitively, I was doing okay on my own, just sort of bimbling about, not really sort of doing daft things like keeping training logs and agonising over times and stuff. And just got into a conversation with one of my work colleagues who happened to mention she was a member of a local running club, and said, why don't you come down one evening? I was like, that's not really for me. I'm not like kind of, meeting strange new people. And I'm not, I think I was a runner. So I did. I went. That's the phone. And I found I really enjoyed it. Great bunch of people. And the rest is history. And I think just being part of a running club, you kind of fall into the ethos of that club. And you think, what race is this? What do I have to do? How far is it? And you just, and then, so over the years, you sort of move up from the sort of the shorter ones to a 10K and then a half marathon. Well, half a marathon, mind blowing at the time. And then, that sort of the marathon's always on the horizon. Could I really run that distance? And once you get one of those under your belt, it just seems to spiral. It's like, well, what's the next challenge? And this last year, starting with the Warrington Way, last year, looking to like ultra distances. And I found I really enjoyed it. Was the Warrington your first ultra? Was it real? I thought you'd done more than that. No.
So just for the listener, the Warrington Way, that's a 40-mile...
it ended up being 42 because we had to make a slight diversion. But on paper, it's supposed to be a 40-mile...
and that was through pretty much that loop that I was just talking about. So run past here.
It started in Lim, and you had to sort of go around surround area through Burton Wood, Warrington, and then back on ourselves. And
through a couple of cow fields. And did you get chased by the cows?
No, I managed to avoid them, thankfully. Did a few recce's where I did, but that's another story. And I just really enjoyed the experience. Sort of most people think that's an absolute nightmare scenario to be out on your feet for hours on end, trudging about, but you've got to be a bit more self-sufficient. You've got to carry certain gear with you for bad weather conditions, food. I think it's part of that is just where you are, for long periods of a run, a race, you are self-reliant. You've not got sort of a pack of runners and everybody's sort of like charging to beat a certain time. That's what I found appealing about that. And since then I've kind of done a couple up in the lakes, most notably the Lakeland 50, which has kind of got almost like a legendary status now. It's in its 10th year next year, and that was a mind-blowing experience for me. I mean, most people, again, that sounds like madness, man. So that's where I'm at right now. Not so much road running as much, which I still dabble and still enjoy. But yeah, just kind of get off the beaten track and get away from it for a few hours.
And the way your body moves. So let's compare let's say a road marathon. And compare that if you're doing a trail marathon, or even a trail half marathon. If I'm honest, and you've done a few of those. That Wales Trails one again. That's a fantastic. Some of the
wonderful
best
place.
Country you'll see. But the way your body moves is completely different, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. When you start in road races, generally speaking, they're relatively flat, and you're trying to maintain a certain set pace and a certain cadence. You checking your watch, your split times alike, but you kind of basically keep a steady set pace. Hopefully, keep your running form good, refuel it, and then to reach the finish line, and hopefully get a great time. And that's a wonderful thing. In trail races, you're up against terrain, and you're up against literally running up hills, running down hills, which utilises different muscle groups. Your conditions on the foot can go from quite smooth to gravelly to gnarly roots and slick rock. So every footfall is different. So there's no real sort of you kind of have moments where you can get sort of a build up a head of steam, and your cadence is more regular and rhythmic. But just the sheer challenge moving through landscapes demands more of your body. Different ways. The repetition's not quite as pounding on, because tarmac's quite an unforgiving surface. Where it's a nice muddy field. It's forgiving to your joints, but it's hard to move through. But that presents its own problems, and
it's kind of more. It's a different type of person, I think, different type of character of person, but it's more open to you'd think so. The Wales Trails sort of half marathon is one of probably the hardest trail half marathons in the country, but the range of people, you get the likes of my old coach Charlie Sharp will run in that, and then you'd get me running that. So, and to describe the difference between you and I, so I'm about 270 pounds, 6 foot 2.5, just a big hulk of a man, and you're got to be a quarter of my body weight.
5'7", 63 kilos. So 10 stone. So
so you're half my body weight. Yet we can both not compete. So I'll never be able to compete. I'll never get on the podium, but I can get out there and have as much fun.
Correct.
As somebody else. But when we hit some of these more popular road races, it feels the very first thing when you cross the finish line, I found on road events, is what was your time? What was your time? Never. Did you enjoy that? What was, did you stop and see that view up on the top of the hill? And that's the other thing. So talking about locomotion is you get out in the trails, and it's amazing how many people will stop at the top of a hill and take out their cameras and take the photos and all that sort of stuff. And then you'll see generally somebody come bombing past. Probably they're wearing an Iron Man T-shirt or something like that. And they just miss all that fun. We did, it's an iconic event for Andrew and I. I think we've done it not every year. I've had to pull out a few times, but the Tatton Park, the Tatton Yuletime Yonk. The year before last, prior to me being injured, we did that, and we run through a herd of deer. Must have been 200 of them. Yeah. Did you do that event?
I did, yeah. It's a great race.
The amount of people at the end who did not see a herd of 200 deer that we split in half as we were running, and hundreds of people missed it because they were intent on looking at their watch or whatever they were doing. It's phenomenal what people miss out. It's mind blowing.
It is. I think when you're goal focused, that happens. You get sort of those mental blinkers, if you like, and it's all about sort of reaching the finish line and set time. Sure. And that's cool. I can see I've been there, done that. It's quite appealing when you're trying to beat a personal best. Yeah. But the shine wears off quite quickly. And if you are moving through beautiful landscapes like the Lake District, it's just magical. It's probably the best way I can describe it, really. okay, it hurts. Yes, it hurts, and you got to make sure you're refueling and stuff. But you meet a lot of really nice people on the way, fellow travellers, if you like.
Yeah.
You're stopping. How's it going? Oh, have you got a spare gel? Any salt tablets?
Yeah.
How are you finding this bit? You don't get on the road race. It's a few grunts like, right, well done, mate. Oh, good running. Cause you through gritted teeth or something. There seems to be this sense of camaraderie and everybody's in this together on a trail run, especially an ultra distance run, because they're bloody hard, As romantic and epics and travel can sound, these are difficult.
You're probably not going to pull your own chain, so I'll do it for you. You are, when I say quite competitive, you're not competitive. You don't go out there and try and win, but you're in that competitive field, aren't you? You're while I'm at the back of the pack, making sure. See, my job is to make sure everybody gets back safe. That's why I do it. Yeah, but you're up the front there. I do all right for my age. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay. I'm fast by some standards. When I'm up against the big boys, they're all very ordinary, which is cool because that's pretty much where I am in the grand scheme of things. Yeah. But yeah, I go out there, I do my thing, and some days I'm feeling on it, and I'm thinking, I know such and such a body, I'll try and beat him in this race. Yeah, it's a bit petty, but it gets you through the race, and it motivates you. Yeah. End of the day, it's a race, it's a competitive event. Yeah. If it's a road race, I don't see it the same when it comes to a distance event. I think you're just kind of racing yourself there for a set time, or you just, the good thing about some long distance runs, you just want to get back in one piece and safe before it goes dark, hopefully. Yeah. But I mean, I know you would never do this, and I think we've talked about this before. Not so much in the bigger races, but the park runs, which is supposed to be non-competitive, but even in some of the 10Ks and things like that. And I know it. I can't remember the guy's name. A local guy showed up to a race. And Charlie, again, my ex-coach, Charlie Sharp, showed up. Now, Charlie, if he enters a race, pretty much he's going to win it. He's one of the most talented runners around at the moment. And people pulled out of the race. Because Charlie showed up at the start line. Instead of enjoying themselves or pushing themselves a little bit, they thought, no, I'm not going to bother. And we see that at park runs as well, don't we?
Yeah, well, I don't understand why people do that. They think, I'm not going to get a top 3 position this week. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Just go and enjoy the run. Yeah. There's always somebody who's going to be faster than you. Yeah. Don't get hung up over it.
Yeah. So that whole sort of psychological, it's not even psychological. I don't get it. I really don't get it, if I'm honest. And that's why I kind of shied away from doing club events and just, like I say, literally walk out my front door, and there's a 40-mile loop that I can run, whenever I want. So let's talk about some of the woo. That's because obviously in all sports, and we see it in the Olympics. Yeah. Last time it was a KT tape, and now we've got cupping and all that sort of stuff. And that bullshit really that flows down to club level athletes as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I've actually seen somebody wear the power band bracelets.
Still,
I won't name names, but yeah. Like, really?
Oh, I know who you're talking about too as well.
Yeah, right. Oh, okay. I've confessed to make. I do sometimes use K-tape purely for strapping reasons. Yeah, not because it contains any magical powers.
It is brilliant for strapping, and I actually find it's good. I used to get a lot of blisters on the inner arch of my foot. Yeah, it's brilliant for blister prevention because it's such a strong, very sticky product. Yeah, but sticking it on, a strip up your back and splaying it so it looks like a waterfall or whatever is absolute BS. But this year we had the cupping.
Bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. I just thought that was one of those freakish things that you saw in some kind of spas that some people might get something from. And was it Gwyneth? Oh, it's always Gwyneth. Yeah. Who was popularising it. But to see it on Phelps was just, what's going on there?
Absolutely amazing, yeah. But thankfully, the papers jumped on it straight away because there was a few months ago, maybe it was towards the start of the year, there was an Asian fellow in Australia who actually lost most of the skin on his back.
I see the pictures, horrific.
Yeah, absolutely awful. But what I didn't know was they do what they call wet cupping. So the normal cupping is you get this glass or whatever it is, heat up the air on the inside, put it on the skin, causes a vacuum. So wet cupping is they put an incision in your skin, so it's drawing blood, and then doing this vacuum. So they're actually bloodletting. Fucking amazing.
Bringing the leeches.
Yeah. So
crazy.
But there's even so that have a talk about just the general sort of stuff. So when I started with the club, we'd do 5 or 10K events, and they'd say, well, you need an energy gel at this mile marker and all this sort of stuff. Let's have a bit of a chat about that. What's your thoughts on that?
It seems to be the case that studies suggest that our body can store glycogen, which fuels the muscles, for up to 90 minutes, sometimes to 3 hours in, well-adapted distance runners.
So that is my 5K.
So there comes a point where you do have to take on board extra fuel.
Sure.
For something like a 5K or a 10K, you really don't need it. I can't see, how long does it take for something to get into your gut and digest and reach your bloodstream?
Yeah.
You kind of, a 5K, pretty much you've done the race before that's even doing anything. Maybe before a race, just to top up your stores, an hour before, maybe an energy drink. Cool, that seems to help a lot of people. But there does seem to be a lot of dodgy advice about a lot of people were giving out. I remember at the time Running Fitness magazine. It was just nonsense from the care tape to just stupid supplements and diets that would kind of say, try this.
Yeah.
The beetroot juice being one thing, where increased nitrates in your blood. There have been I think there's only actually one where they've done it with cyclists, where it seems to be the case where it's dilated blood vessels a bit more.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not too sure the sample size of the study and how long it went on for.
Those studies, though, they were done on professional cyclists, like tour grade cyclists, and they're doing sort of very intensive, sort of 200-300 kilometre events. But then that trickles down to the runner who's doing a 5 or a 10K event as well, and that's what the magazines pick up on. That's what pisses me off.
It was quite relatively. It's about £3 for a litre and a half container.
Yeah,
I've tried it myself. You just get a really interesting coloured piss at the end of the race. Did it help me? I've no idea. I didn't conduct the experiments properly.
But there was simple things like the pickle juice.
Oh yeah, for cramping.
And that does work. And all you need to do is go and buy a 99p jar of pickles from Aldi's, strain out eat the pickles, because a jar of pickles is like, I'm talking gherkins and things like that. I think, so the 500 gram jar, that's mostly your pickle juice anyway, which you want for your cramping, you drain that out, there might be a couple of 100 grams of pickled gherkins in there for a calorie value of about 100 calories or something ridiculous like that. So you get the joy of eating some gherkins, which are awesome, and then you can have, your pickle juice, if it works for you, all for 99p, but that's not in the magazines because it's an advertiser is not promoting that.
No.
Because it's 99p.
They've got a product on them. They want you the wonderfully packaged bullshit version.
Yeah.
Mike, maybe we should talk why they think pickle juice may work and what cramping is.
Talk about that, because it's quite interesting.
This cramping's a horrible thing. It's muscle spasms. It's if you've never, I'm assuming most people have some kind of cramp, but in a race, it's horrific. It feels like there's electric shocks going up your legs. Your muscles don't want to work. It slows you. You've just got to stop and stretch, essentially.
Sure.
Everybody says, it's a lack of fluids, electrolytes. Those things do contribute, it seems, a small amount, but it's basically muscle fatigue. Your body's misfiring. The signals going back and forth, and your muscles are basically spasming. And the suggestion is that the pickle juice somehow, when it reaches your mouth, because it's quite sharp and tart. I don't know. I've not got any show notes with me, so I can't get any sort of like it is supposed to interfere with that sort of.
So it's a reset.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. Anecdotally, there's a lot of people say it works, but anecdotes aren't evidence. But it's certainly something to start from.
Sure.
Why is that seem to be the case? Let's look at this. And I think research is being done into that. I think there's a new product just come out on the market that sort of base itself upon the pickle idea, but they're using more tart lemons.
Right.
Just something to break up that signalling pathway to your muscles.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, you need to be conditioned. I don't get cramps so much now. It does happen, especially in ultras. Your legs hurt.
Yeah.
Shorter distances, not at all. And that's just down to training and developing stronger muscles. The onset of cramp is later in a race. But cramp is still a bit of a mystery.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's neurological and you can find something, it's like a hiccup.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it, yeah.
We don't know, well, there's theories, but nobody really knows why we're getting hiccups. But we know that if you cross that signal, if you confuse that signal, they can stop. So, you do the upside down drinking because you're giving your brain something else to think about, you know. So, it's quite a strange subject. So, there's what would be upsetting, or not upsetting, but what would be frustrating is that if somebody comes out with a product at a cost that you can replace by, just your 99p jar of pickles.
I'll try and find the link later to the product I'm thinking of and pass it on so you can have a look at it and maybe edit it into the show so you can perhaps comment on it.
Yeah.
But going back to woo in running, it's like anything. Sports people will look for anything to give them that extra edge.
Yeah.
And there are people out there to exploit that with all sorts of wonderful promises, from dietary supplements to whatever training techniques to.
What about clothing? That's a big one, isn't it? Because that's
compression clothing, calf guards. Yeah, I do possess the calf guards. They seem to have helped. There's some kind of suggestion that improves venous return up the leg.
Sure.
Perhaps more so in recovery than actually during the race.
Yeah.
But hey, I'll stick them on. It just means I don't cramp as much. That's not very scientific.
Well, they make your legs look sexy.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Just add a bit more shit to my calf.
What about the so there was a big sort of phase going back, maybe 6 years now, 5 or 6 years, the barefoot sort of running.
Yeah, I think that came out of Chris Dougal's book.
Born
to Run, where certainly with the Kenyans and the Tarahumara you went to before, just through growing up, lack of choice, footwear's expensive.
Yeah.
And it's got to be hardy, so well, people just run barefoot.
Yeah.
And
I grew up on a beach, and that's where we would run. You didn't want to put your trainers on the beach because they'd fill up with sand. So you would kit down as much as you could, and that was. I mean, it's a good way to run, but I think again it became a product that people could. That's something that really amazed me. So barefoot running for the listener is exactly that. You run with nothing on your feet.
Yeah,
take your shoes off, go for a run.
Yeah, which is great on grass, and
people still found a way of monetizing it.
Yeah, because if you can make a trainer,
a barefoot trainer, and this is something that it
actually exists. Vibrafoot. Nike jumped on the bandwagon as well with the Nike Free.
Yeah.
Essentially, dear listener, the idea goes that barefoot running replicates a more natural running gait. You land more on your midfoot. You don't strike with your heel, which sends all sorts of vibrations up your leg, causes problems. Again, that's debatable. But yeah, cushion shoes are a relatively modern invention. Mid-70s, Nike, the waffle thing.
Yeah. Late 70s. Maybe mid to late 70s.
Because I think if you watch old footage of like Roger Bannister on the track, just like leather
slippers, weren't they?
A few tacks in them just so you can stay on the track. That's pretty much how everybody run. There's some stories of fell runners back in the turn of the century, last century, where they just run the bare feet up the fells because the best work boots, there was no way they were going to get those wrecked. So
you might have to explain what a fell runner is to the international audience.
Well, a fell in the north of England is basically a mountain.
Yeah.
We're not talking mountains like the Alps. We're talking just really big hills.
Yeah.
Which get a lot of snow on in the winter and it's still challenging terrain, but yeah.
Yeah. And a fell race is quite an extraordinary race, isn't it? It's not like you. Am I right in thinking you don't follow a route, but you'll have a start, you'll have a goal, and then back to the end? Is that right?
Yeah, there are a few uphill fell races where you finish at a peak, but basically there is a route, but it can vary. It's more of a guideline. Yeah. I mean, you obviously can't cut massive corners off it.
No.
But you get up there, you run up a hill, and then you run back down and try to survive the experience. But it's quite hardcore. There's short races, there's longer races. You expect to carry a certain amount of kit within a little bum bag, just a waterproof and stuff, because obviously when you get to certain heights, all sorts of things can go wrong. The weather can change, or you could hurt yourself, and you've got to wait around for somebody to come and take you off that hill. And they just tend to be sort of good, cheap, fun events. And the first one I ever did, I felt like a boy in a man's world. I was really out of my depth.
Yeah.
Running up a hill is really hard. Really hard.
It's quite unique to this part of the world, aren't they?
They seem to be, just seem to be Scotland, Wales, where there's hills, basically.
Where the hills are, yeah. Sorry, we got off the point there as well, didn't we? So, yeah, barefoot. And I have to admit, I've got a pair of Vibram 5 fingers in the cupboard there, and I did try and run in them once. Didn't work out very well. You can't have a body shape like mine and not have any sort of protection on your feet, but they are brilliant just for walking around in.
Yeah, I mean, you strengthen your feet muscles, and that's what it's about. I mean, most shoes that they will tell you to go and buy in a running shop, you pronate, you need motion controlled shoes. So you've got these essentially casts on your feet to control how your foot is. Well, your foot rolling as we all pronate. Footballs, most people, you decide you roll out again on the push-up phase. But
the foot's actually designed to do that as well, and we're trying to stop with your anti-pronation shoes, or we're trying to stop the natural movement of that foot, aren't we? Yeah.
Unfortunately, from childhood, we're forced into like odd shoes, and our feet are naturally strong, or don't seem to be in most people. So, yeah, I've got flat feet. I really should wear textbook, all sorts of orthotics, which I have done in the past, but I found I got knee problems, hip problems. I gradually sort of went into the more sort of minimalist shoe, and that seemed to clear up. Again, it could just be coincidental, but it seems to work for me, and that's all I can say on the matter. Everybody's different because everybody's physiology is different, everybody's feet are different. But the barefoot movements, it was basically, as a result of this book, the tribe you mentioned before, the Tarahumara, essentially running little, kind of sandals, basically, isn't it?
Just I think they were a car tyre. They used to cut up the old car tyres into sort of the platform, the bottom of their sandal, and then a little bit of leather strapping to hold it to their feet. And again, somebody monetised that.
Yeah, harachis.
Yep, that's what they're called, harachis, that's right. But now you can buy a pair of those off bloody Barefoot Ted for £100 for a bit of fucking rubber and some leather strapping. It's extraordinary. Again, something that simple and that basic. Somebody made a whole book, which was a bestseller, I'm sure. There's some very good stories in that. There's nothing wrong with that book at all. Nothing wrong with the story, and it did a lot for the Tarahumara tribes people, but then it got monetized. It's going to be a movie. We've got this whole barefoot shoe movement, and now somebody's selling flip-flops for £100 Amazing.
Yeah, it happens. It's business, sport, isn't it? Training manufacturers are always going to bring out new models, looking for new ideas, new angles, new materials, more promises to people. You can run faster, better, quicker, safer. We have the product for this.
Yeah. What does amaze me, and it's not just in the sporting communities, it's with just about everything. So if you were to, and I'm guilty of it, I'm sure we all are, if somebody says to me, in fact, somebody asked me last week, what are the best trail shoes to run in? Generally, it's the ones that I've got on my foot. And if they asked you, it would be the ones on your feet and things like that, and it's, who's the best doctor? Well, the doctor I see is the best doctor, because obviously I make the best decisions and all that sort of stuff. So, and that sort of, we get this, we become that brand. We become, a stooge for the brand, because for whatever reason, we've been sold that. Now, when somebody says to me, what are the best trail shoes? I say Salomons, because I actually do believe that they are the best trail shoes, and that's what I've done all my ultra events in, or all of my off-road events. I generally, but it's not always the case, because you've got your favourite shoe.
Innovators tend to work for me, and I've just recently started wearing, so calling them roads, really good road shoes that suit my feet. Yeah. But they do an off-road shoe called the Peregrine, and I really like it. Yeah. It's comfortable. It does the job. I've got a good ground feel from it. It's not too built up. The shoes you mentioned, the Speedcross 3s, so we're getting really nerdy here now. So there could be a massive edit coming along now, but they're a really good, comfortable, robust shoe. But for me, I felt a little bit sort of, they didn't seem quite right on my feet, just to walk around. I'm not running them, but around sort of wreck them and, not agree with them. Yeah. I pass them on to Jason. Yeah. Noah loves them, so everyone's a winner.
Exactly. Yeah, but they're a bit higher up on the foot as well. But I'm getting bad with the tangents. My point on that one is, so those Speedcross 3s, you can buy those for £60 now. Yeah. When the new models up around the £100, and that will come down to £60 eventually, but not so much in the trail running community, because I don't want to sound arrogant, but it's a more advanced runner. They've been through all the woo and all the marketing bullshit. But if you get so that the couch to 10K lot that they will get tricked into buying the £150 runners, the big brand runners that are, they're built on the same last as every other shoe that the the 20-pound pair of shoe that the same brand makes.
Yeah.
And it's made out of the same material, but they do a little bit of marketing, a little bit of fancy stuff, and all of a sudden that shoe's 2, 3, 4 times.
Develops a new material that gives better
rebound
energy, and it's going to make it that much quicker. Shave seconds off your PB. It's appealing, and shoe companies have to make money. So they go about newer models, they upgrade, tweak an existing one, and everybody's happy.
Yeah,
because you have to replace your trainers, they wear out. So a new version of your favourite trainer.
It's amazing how many people, and you'll see, especially at the Olympics, if you have a look at what on people's feet, or at the start of a any of the big races, start of a marathon. If you look at the front runners, look at what they're wearing on their feet. There's 1 or 2 brands that they're all wearing, or they're unbranded, or the brand's been covered up because they're sponsored by somebody else.
Yeah. It tends to be Nike, Adidas.
Exactly, yeah.
Whoever's their sponsor is.
Yeah.
Just slightly off tangent, there's been studies where they've had people trying on various shoes. I think they've done it with the military, where they've had so many guys go out on a march wearing X shoe.
Yeah.
Other, made no difference.
Exactly,
coordination, nothing. It was just basically, it all boils down to comfort.
Yeah.
I think certain motion controls for certain people, some people just do perhaps do need it, but it's soulless. Like, if you've got a certain foot type, you have to wear a certain shoe.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the case.
And when I joined the army in 1990, so our training shoe, our running shoe, was a Dunlop Volley. Everybody got Dunlop Volleys, and our boots were the issued Boots GP Black, and we would go out and do 80, 90 miles in those boots. Everybody had the same boot on. People did have problems, but not the problems that the shoemakers are telling us that we're getting in. And I had the same pair of black Boots GP. I think one pair lasted me about 6 years, and I must have done thousands of miles on those things through route marches and exercises and all that sort of stuff. So, and my feet are probably the only thing on my body that's not busted.
Well, the thing is, the modern running shoe has been around for quite a while now, and it's made all its promises it'll do this and this.
Sure.
People still get injured. People still get plantar fasciitis, shin splints, all sorts of running injuries. Doesn't matter what they've got on their feet.
We've not busted the 2-hour marathon yet, have we? Not in a professional race, not in a sanctioned race anyway.
No, I think the 2-hour marathon is the dream time.
Yeah. So
are we capable of doing it? I'm certainly not.
I don't think a shoe will make it happen, though.
No, it's just going to be exceptional athletes.
Yeah.
With great genes.
Yeah.
And probably a Kenyan guy who's just on the cusp of doing it.
Yeah. And there was actually just another tangent, but slightly on topic. Story Andrea and I talked about earlier was at the Paralympics, there were 4 athletes run faster than the able-bodied. And straight away I thought, well, that must have been a technology thing. Was it the
blades?
The blades. Yeah. They were vision-impaired runners.
Yeah.
That's why they were there. So it had nothing to do with any technology at all. They were vision impaired, so they've been able to, for whatever reason, been able to sort of surpass that. But it's amazing that the person that comes fourth in that race won't get a medal, run faster than the person that won a gold medal in the same race in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Which again leads on to the question: are they going to combine the Olympics? So it's just
I think they should.
I agree they should.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me why not.
No.
I don't like able, disabled.
Yeah.
People are just people.
Yeah.
We've all got interesting things going on with our bodies, and we do what we do with what we've got.
Yeah. And I said this I think when the Olympics started, Andrew and I discussed it, and I've never been to an Olympics. I can't afford to go to the Olympics, but I've been to events, sort of World Cups and that World Championships, I should say. And the time gap between events is extraordinary. You might wait 20 or 30 minutes between sort of races and qualifying events and things like that. There's no reason they can't put those other events on in the meantime. So if they want to do it, they'll do it. Yeah. If they don't want to do it, it seems that they don't. Something else that's extraordinary is as much as it does happen this way, but whoever is hosting the Olympics doesn't necessarily need to be the host of the Paralympics. Right. No, it's not a given. They still need to bid for that. So they just need to stop doing that as far as I'm concerned.
Interesting topic for another show.
Yeah, definitely. Right. Okay, so staying on the health and fitness theme, Andy and I now talk about Team Para-GB's success at the Paralympics and how 4 disabled runners run the 1,500 metres faster than the gold medal winner at the other Olympics. So, the Paralympics.
Yes.
We are kicking absolute arse.
We're not.
When I say, hold on, let's go back, sorry. I fucking hate it when sports fans say, we're doing this and we're the best at that and we fucking won because we're the best and we shouldn't have done. And that referee, bloody... No, we aren't doing well. The athletes are doing fucking phenomenal at the Paralympics at the moment.
They've exceeded what they did last time, haven't they? In
but
London.
they've actually exceeded what the Olympics had as far as the medal tally is concerned. The Paralympics have well and truly exceeded.
Do you know what? It's just amazing.
Watching this morning
when I watch clips and stuff and I just, it really is the most inspiring out of all the Olympics. And there's one thing to have determination to be the best in the world at a sport from an amateur perspective. But to have things stand in your way, and middle finger that whole entire lot,
and some of them there was one girl, and I don't think she was British. She may have been American. Did 2 completely different sports and gold medaled in 2 completely separate sports. There's quite a few that. So one of the British girls did volleyball last time. And now is in canoeing.
Do you know what? Right, I was watching a segment on the news, and it was going back to the guy that designed the prosthetics that the sprinters used.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I loved about that? The reporter gave questions were actually quite loaded,
right?
And it made it sound like the prosthetic leg, for example, the blades, was what was making these athletes great.
Well, that was one of the arguments with Pistorius, wasn't
it? This producer, the producer of these blades and the other anesthetics. Sorry, prosthetics. He literally didn't flinch because you could tell he truly meant what he was saying here.
Yeah.
He said these are basically like an athlete's trainers.
Yeah.
He says you could pick whatever trainer you wanted, whether it's 0 drop, so many gait or whatever. And these are basically, so don't get me wrong, he said, we make them light for a reason, but he said it's the human body and everything else that is doing the work and the athlete's determination and fitness, etc. But the reporter was loading the questions like, so you've designed this and does this make them faster? And they were loading
BBC,
it.
Wasn't it?
It was, and I was
it that big tall piece of shit?
I don't know, but it makes no difference because at the end of the day, I was listening to the news, and when I was into the questions, I was thinking, "Ooh, let's see what he comes back with," and he did not flinch.
That's brilliant.
He was so proud of the athletes.
Yeah.
He was like, the technology is great now because it allows the athletes to use their strength and it allows them to. He was just really, I thought, what a fab interview, because what he did was he took that reporter that was wanting scandal in my eyes and said, fuck you. These athletes are worth every fucking gram of that gold, silver,
what I
bronze
think is
medal.
brilliant is when you get an able-bodied athlete and put them in a wheelchair and say play wheelchair rugby. I mean, they call it murder ball. People fucking, they can't get hurt too much. There was the last Paralympics, I think it was a female athlete, and they're playing this murder ball, and they're bashing the crap out of each other in the chairs and all that sort of stuff. And somebody said, aren't you afraid of getting hurt? And this girl's turned around and said, well, I've already broke my spine. How much more hurt can I get? They're fearless. Yeah. They're absolutely fearless. But so I've had a bit of a sore back for the last 12 months.
You've been a bit of a whinging princess.
And I've been moaning and bitching and carrying on about that, and I've not been able to get out and run and all that sort of stuff. Could you imagine? So they've not just got a sore. So the guys on the double blades, they don't have a sore knee or a sore ankle. They got no fucking legs.
Exactly.
They have to wake up every morning and navigate around the world without their legs. And I mean, it was a stunt, but you saw Pistorius in his latest trial, walking around on his stumps. Yeah. That was a stunt to make the court feel sorry for him, and it didn't work. but that's the way.
But at the end of the day, like when you think you've only got to someday think, I can't be arsed today. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to go out the front door.
Well, that's called Monday.
Well, yeah. And when you think these people, they've literally got the fear of, well, will I be able to manage that shopping bag?
Yeah.
And on that leg?
Exactly.
Right. The weather's a bit cold, or the weather's a bit hot, or whatever. I mean, I don't know. But to actually to go to another point and excel at a sport to that degree where you're thinking, you know what, I'm going to take my body to the limit. That's really impressive. And do you know what? I'm not taking anything away from total able-bodied people, but I mean, that reporter, he just wanted them to say, oh yeah, it was the blades that made this guy run, not the fact that this guy just took it and owned it.
Well, let's stick this story up their arse. So this is from, I'll read it from the Independent. So Paralympics 2016. 4 1,500-metre runners finished faster than the Rio Olympics gold medal winning time.
I saw that.
And what did everybody say on fucking Twitter?
Go on.
Oh, it's good they got the blades and they spring faster. Let me finish the story.
Bite me, bitches. Bite me.
Let me finish the story. The person who won is Algerian. It was in the T13 class, the 1,500 final on Monday night in a stunning performance. Blah, 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 etc. The T13 class is where athletes suffer from visual impairments. There are 2 other classes for visually impaired, etc. and so forth.
It wasn't even a race.
They were visually impaired 1st through 4th, all. So the person who doesn't even get a medal run faster in the 1,500 than the person in the able-bodied Olympics that won the gold fucking medal.
Do you know what? That just says it all.
Exactly. I'm going to do a bit of a rant about smartasses on Twitter one day, and it's probably, now we're doing that time machine thing in the Schrodinger's co-host. It may have already been at the start of this episode, I'm not too sure, but people on Twitter are spreading hate because they read a fucking headline like that and straight away go, yeah, but they're on springs, they're on bloody blades and all that sort of stuff.
Because apparently a disability is just missing a fucking leg, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh my God, I've just got an email, because obviously we go away in 2 weeks from Manchester Airport, so I've put the park in. And it's basically selling me 20% off high street prices. It's selling me it's duty free on perfume and makeup and handbags, etc. Now, watches, speakers. That's 2 weeks. I know why. Because you get your boarding pass 14 days before.
Yeah. They just want to scrape every penny out of you before.
I've never had that before. Junk mail from an airport before you're going to travel to buy you shit.
They're out of control. Absolutely out of control. When I want to actually count, I'd love to be able to record how many times. If I might actually do that on my iPhone, actually. Every time they do an announcement about would you like to buy all this overpriced shit.
Yeah. I tell you what, I'd like to finish on one thing.
Are you taking over?
Yeah, I'm taking over.
You're the host. You're taking the anchor.
I'm taking the host chair on the floor.
Go.
Did you see the article about the cow that had his face blurred?
I did.
The Google map guy?
Yeah. What are they called? Google Street View.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, the Google Street View, you know, they drive around in the little cars and take pictures. They'd actually fuzzed out and protected the identity of a cow.
So, but what was it? Was it deliberate or was this? So they run an algorithm, don't they?
It's completely by accident because if you go a couple of like little tiny meters down the road and drop your little man a bit further down, the cow's face is there. He's walking across the street and his face is there to be seen and. Maybe
they blocked it off
because he was not protected.
He was being a bit of a coward.
Oh no, really? No. Just drop the drone. They're not good. But I just thought this was fabulous because you know when you look at the Facebook and things getting blocked and stopped for no other reason that could appear useful.
Yeah.
And this cow's face is blurred to protect the cow's identity. I've no doubt that it's probably somebody's stake by now on somebody's plate, but probably that's why he was blurred. I don't know, but but yeah, I just thought that was so funny. It just goes to show, you know, we go in uproar about these things. Anyway, I just thought it's actually a good point to make based on social media and the censorship of photographs, or whether they're blocking things. And I think a cow on Google image being blurred, a cow's face, is actually a good little reminder. Hey guys, sometimes we're just working automatically, and we don't have to get all personal about it.
Yeah. Okay, so as I said at the start of the show, I had an email from a listener who asked not to be named, asking about Patreon and donations, etc. And I sort of covered this in a little YouTube clip I did a little while ago, but let me go into details. Well, so to start off with, and to be clear, I don't ever want to charge anyone for this show. It's always going to be free, and that's just the way it is. I don't believe that you should pay to listen to a podcast, but there'll always be expenses, and I'll come to that in a moment. And I know a lot of you listening also listen to other podcasts that have Patreon accounts or similar things to Patreon. It's not just that. And most of them offer you a reward for paying a small amount each week. You might get early access to the show or extended clips as a reward. Now, for most part, these guys are doing this as their primary source of income. And that's fine. Good on them for having the ability and the skills to make something they love into a career. That's not my intention for this podcast. As I said last week, this is a creative outlet for me, nothing more. Maybe in future years, if I get better at it, who knows? But for now, that's not even a plan. Now, as far as the cost of putting all this together, in the grand scheme of things, it's not even important. Again, I do this for my reasons, just as you listen for your own reasons. Anyway, like I said, many podcasts have Patreon pages or PayPal donation links, etc. But to be brutally honest, and I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way, but my listener base is nothing compared to the likes of the SGU, who must be in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of listeners per week, or the Cognitive Dissidence team, or the Scathing Atheist guys. All podcasts I listen to, and the latter two were the inspiration for me to actually get started. So my point is, I appreciate the offer of donations, but the very generous dollars and pounds per week from my small audience would be better served by giving it to one of the podcasts that have built up their audience and are now taking a massive chance of turning their podcast into a career. And on the surface, that doesn't make sense, right? But I have a job. I actually have a good job. But these generous few dollars per week to the other guys may be the difference between them eating a decent meal or not, because they're the ones taking a massive risk. Now, I do actually have a Patreon account, but it's not active yet, as I don't really have anything else to offer except for this podcast as it is. Maybe in a while, when I need to upgrade some equipment or expand, I'll take it up as an option. But for now, for me, all I ask is that you keep sharing the show with your friends and keep sending me in the feedback and the reviews and the words of support. Okay, well, that is about enough out of me for this double show. Keep an eye out on Monday for the regular scheduled show. And until then, on behalf of myself, Brenno and Andrea, thanks for listening. This has been Skeptic Smash Talk.